and we are competitive once again.
For 4 hours.
Well, I want to talk about the neon trees. You know, we requested this song, and this is the first time I've gotten to be with Rachel.
I know.
So seriously, it's like my birthday, Christmas, all wrapped in one this morning.
Well, then you know what
so
it is?
nice.
It is National Chocolate Cake Day, so maybe we could get you a birthday Christmas chocolate cake.
I'm allergic to chocolate.
Is it really National Chocolate Cake?
I looked it up right before the show. Yeah, every once in a while, just for amusement. I'm like, what day is it today?
You
It's
have
January
way
27th.
too much time on your hands.
National Chocolate Cake Day.
So listen,
maybe we'll have one by the end of the show.
I'm excited to be here because
I
it has
request
been the most unbelievable news week with the president in Davos, the CEOs over there giving him, as your favorite failing New York Times says, ample praise.
Yes.
I would say pretty much a heap load of praise.
Almost universal, yes.
As well as I cover politics every day, and that is the plan the White House has put forward on immigration.
You've got the text messages, but you're right. We're going over to the immigration as well. There's so much you can barely keep track of it all.
Listen, the text message is an important story. We're going to talk about it, and it is certainly one that is unfolding as the Inspector General at the Department of Justice has brought forward. But the immigration battle is what I think people care about. If you're a dreamer, if you're one of the 800,000 people in this country brought here as a child, you were brought here at age 16 or younger, and you have become what they consider themselves to be Americans, there is a plan for them. They have skin in the game. We are talking about legislation that matters, and we have a situation where one party seems to be most interested in obstructing.
Let's talk about what the plan is. So the White House immigration plan, yes. So released on Thursday. This is the plan. It says $25 billion for border security. It eliminates the visa lottery system. It curbs chain migration, and it offers a path to citizenship for 1.8 million dreamers. That's more than twice the amount that Democrats were originally calling for.
That's right. So, Griff, to your point, you've got the DACA recipients, the illegal immigrants who want to be recognized, but you also have the Trump supporters and those who said, this is a defining issue for us. Illegal immigration, illegality, the rule of law really matters to us. That's why we're voting for President Trump. Republicans have always been about tax cuts and always been about repealing and replacing Obamacare. But Trump was about illegal immigration and getting our hands around it. This isn't the opening bid. There's been a lot of discussion about this, Rachel. You know this issue very, very well.
Pete and I don't agree on this issue.
We don't agree. We don't have to agree on everything. I just think the question is, was this a brilliant opening move to put Democrats in a corner, which I think there's a lot of people feel that way, or was it an opening bid where you start with 1.8 million and citizenship as opposed to legalization? But what's universal is Democrats are reacting to this foolishly or predictably very negatively, even though they got a lot out of this opening bid.
This bid was so sweet. It makes them look ridiculous to turn it down. Because look, we know for the last, however many years, we've been trying to wrap our hands around immigration reform. And the sticking point has always been border security, that people, the American people, and this is why President Trump got elected. They said, look, we're okay with the people that are here, especially the dreamers. They seem to be the most innocent victims of our broken immigration system. We're okay keeping them here. We just want to make sure this doesn't happen again. So what President Trump has put in place in this plan is, look, I'll give even more than the 800,000.
Double.
I'll double that. But you got to go with it. I think this is brilliant. And
so Nancy Pelosi should love this, right?
So let's believe Nancy. You guys have a lot to say. Here's what Nancy. Now remember, Democrats, by most people's fair account, Democrats lost on the government shutdown. Pelosi and Schumer failed. Here's what Pelosi said now that a plan is on the table.
The president put forth a plan. That plan is a campaign to make America white again. They are changing the character of our country by what they are putting forth. They bring a tear to the eye of the Statue of Liberty, and they bring fear to the hearts of people who are here playing by the rules.
Breaking news, the Statue of Liberty not crying this morning. Apparently, I mean, it's all about race and racism for them. They're going to play that card because a big sweetener from this president, it's not just Nancy Pelosi, it's left-wing groups. Here's a couple of headlines from left-wing groups who the president tried to, put an olive branch to. This is what they write. The ACLU says the White House released a hateful xenophobic immigration proposal. United We Dream says, let's call this proposal for what it is, a white supremacist ransom note. And a writer in the Huffington Post says, a little more than a racist ransom note from a group of nativists who are willing to dangle 800,000 young teenagers and adults over a cliff while simultaneously replacing core American values with poison. To your point, Rachel, it wasn't 800,000. It was close to almost 2 million. I think the concerns for conservatives are, is the wall going to be built? Is the end of chain migration? Is the end of the visa lottery going to be a precursor to a legalization or citizenship as proposed for those in DACA? And how do you make sure it stays at 1.8 as opposed to a number that could grow larger based on the way bureaucracies often?
I don't think the number is going to grow larger, and I think that President Trump has made it very clear. I need these 4 things: the wall, end of chain migration, more money for border security, for the Border Patrol, and an end to the visa lottery system. That's the deal, and he's put it out there, and he's made it super generous. I want to talk to the dreamers that are out there potentially watching, or if you know a dreamer. The Democrats don't care about you. This is the most generous deal that could ever be made, and they are saying no because they want to toy. Right. They want to toy with your life. They want to run on DACA. They don't want to solve DACA. They don't want to give you citizenship. They want to use you as a political
What do you say
pawn.
to the non-dreamers, the American citizens?
You're going to get border security. That's what I say to them.
Well, why are we giving away citizenship as opposed to a path to legalization?
What about Democrat voters? What about if you're a Democrat, you want to win? Donald Trump steamrolled you in election a year ago. He's passed tax reform. You want to win if you're a Democrat. And I would think when this plan was put on the table, a lot of Democrat voters said, looks pretty good.
That crazy
it's
reaction.
what we asked for. Instead, the message is this is a racist ransom note. So clearly the plan is obstruct at every turn, no matter what they give us, even if they give us twice what we asked for.
Griff, the crazy reaction from Nancy Pelosi to call a deal that brings in, almost 2 million Black and brown people racist and gives them citizenship shows how desperate they are. They have nothing to run on. They are desperate.
And I think as skeptical as some conservatives may be, there's been some resistance to this. Give it some time. Let's see how the plan develops and what the contours actually look like. The president is a deal maker. This is a signature issue. We'll see where it goes, for sure. Well, one of the topics that the left doesn't want to be talking about, they're happy to talk about Russia investigations and confusion over different topics, but not the boom, the big boom in our economy. President Trump was at Davos in Switzerland over the last couple of days. He took it by storm so while he's there, the Dow hits yet another record. I don't know how many records it's set at this point. And FedEx,
points,
yeah, exactly, up 200 points yesterday. Now at 26.6 in the stock market. And FedEx also announcing wage increases and bonuses amid tax reform. So I've lost track of how many records we've set with the Dow and how many companies now are giving away these unexpected bonuses. Nancy Pelosi calls them breadcrumbs. There's a screen of all the companies. You can't even read the logos.
And can I say, Pete, that's not it. That's not all, because I live in a little town, and they're not counting the bonuses that are being given by small businesses in little towns all across America. My husband just spoke to a small business owner in our town who said, I just upped our contribution to everyone's 401k. Guaranteed that's not being counted right now. It is reverberating across the economy. We're going to have someone on later on, another business owner who's giving bonuses, who's saying, hey, this isn't crumbs to my employees.
And not only are they calling it crumbs, in some cases, they're actually suing against it. They're suing against financial
desperation.
That's right. So they passed this tax reform bill, which has the state and local tax deduction was a big part of it. So the states with high taxes didn't love every aspect of it. Well, those high tax states like New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, well, they're suing. So you've got Andrew Cuomo in New York, Phil Murphy in New Jersey, and Daniel Malloy in Connecticut. All are going to sue President Trump over the tax plan, saying, our taxes are so high it's going to hurt us, as opposed to taking some accountability and saying maybe we could make our states competitive?
Well, exactly. They should focus on lowering taxes. But what this really is the Democrats saying big government and, redistribution didn't work. Tax reform and deregulating did. I'm going to sue you. Yeah. They're mad that this is working. That's what this is about. It's not about this. They're mad that the economy, they don't have anything to say about what's happening, and they don't own it because they didn't vote for it.
In the message this sends to businesses, CEOs who are located in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, what does it say to them if they're trying to run their company? Should they move?
We have so much to get to at the top. We didn't even get to the fact that FISA memo, that released the memo, it looks like this week it probably will get released. So we've got some great guests on the show.
Dan Bongino.
About there, as of course, he doesn't have anything to say.
We'll have lots more to say on that, but now we have to get to your headlines. Starting with a Fox News alert. At least 40 people are dead and 140 others hurt after a suicide bombing overnight in Kabul. Officials say the attackers drove an ambulance packed with explosives through security checkpoints, detonating the bombs when police recognized them. The area is home to foreign embassies, the Taliban claiming responsibility. This attack coming 1 week after the group's deadly siege of a luxury Kabul hotel, killing at least 25 people, including 4 Americans. The gunman accused in the death of a Colorado sheriff's deputy making his first court appearance. Formal murder charges expected to be filed against 22-year-old Drayon Deering next week. 31-year-old Deputy Heath Gumm's family sharing this message in court, quote, "Our hearts are warmed by the display of compassion from complete strangers who stood and continue to stand alongside our family." The 5-year veteran of the force shot in the chest while chasing an assault suspect came from a family of first responders. Hillary Clinton now responding to a report she protected a 2008 campaign aide after claims of sexual harassment. The New York Times reporting the so-called faith guru Burns Strider kept his job after being accused of inappropriate behavior with a young female staffer who later resigned. Clinton tweeting, quote, "I was dismayed when it occurred, but was heartened the young woman came forward, was heard, and had her concerns seriously addressed." Years later, Clinton still posing for photos with Strider. And those are your headlines.
I love revisionist history. All right, well, coming up, the White House proposing an immigration deal, and many Americans want to know, will it secure that border once and for all, as the president promised? We will ask the president of the National Border Patrol Council what he thinks of the deal next.
Plus, one NFL player gives a classroom a big reason to cheer.
I'm just looking for Mr. Alton's class.
The incredible thing those students did to get Saints punter Thomas Morstead's attention, plus their big reward, that is coming up. Don't get up from the couch. Stay right where you are.
Stay in bed.
Welcome back. On this busy news day, President Trump expected to detail an immigration plan, actually a legislative framework, next week that would clear the path to citizenship for 1.8 million young immigrants living in the U.S. illegally, in exchange for new restrictions on legal immigration and $25 billion for border security.
But what will it take to make sure the border is secure? Brandon Judd is the president of the National Border Patrol Council. Welcome, Brandon. A quick question for you. So Democrats are saying that the wall won't work. Will it work?
They're absolutely incorrect. All you have to do is look at history. Where we built physical barriers, it's dropped the number of illegal entries exponentially. They're absolutely wrong.
Brandon, I spent time with you just a week ago down near El Paso in the Big Bend sector. We've talked about this wall. It looks like this deal is a wall in exchange for DACA, right? And apparently the White House, the Democrats said they wanted 800,000 Dreamers covered. The White House has given them double. Are you okay with the DACA part of this?
What you're seeing is you're seeing the brilliance of a businessman that we elected into the office of president, which is exactly what we expected to see and exactly what we were hoping to see. When you look at securing the border, we're talking about illegal immigration, not legal immigration. There's nothing racist about securing our borders. When the Democrats don't have substance on their side, they scream things like racist. They attack his personal friends like Keith Schiller when they absolutely have no substance. And so when you look at this, they have nothing to stand on, which is why they're losing.
So the president wants to give $20 million to the wall and then $5 million for Border Patrol agents, an increase, $1 billion, $20 billion for the wall, $5 billion for Border Patrol agents and also for immigration judges. Do you think that's a good breakdown, or do you think that we should have less for the wall and more for Border Patrol?
No, if you look at it, when Griff was down on the border, he saw just exactly how porous it was. We have to have the physical barriers, which is going to be expensive. We know that, but we also have to end the loopholes of catch and release, and we can't do that unless we have the number of judges. We have to remove the magnets that are drawing people to cross the border illegally, which is exactly what this plan is calling for, which is why I believe that this plan is going to work, as opposed to the amnesty of 1986, where we legalized millions of people without putting the border security measures in place. This is going to put the border security measures in place. We're going to be able to secure our borders. And again, we can end this debate once and for all, which is what the Democrats say that they want.
Brandon, that's a good point. We have to leave it there. We're going to talk about comparing it to what was done in 1986. Thank you very much. And, you know, I hope the Democrats listen to what you said today, because you were a Border Patrol agent, still are, 20 years on the job, and you say this is a good deal and it's going to do something, especially when it comes to even that chain migration. Brandon, Judd, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Still ahead, President Trump getting a warm reception from world leaders after saying this.
America first does not mean America alone.
Why is the media so perplexed over the positive reaction to that message? Our panel here to discuss it next.
Plus, Maxine Waters isn't just boycotting the president's State of the Union address. She's actually giving her own address.
Looking like a true survivor, feeling like a little kid. I'm still standing there all this time.
Welcome back. Some quick headlines. Representative Maxine Waters is giving her very own State of the Union response to the president. The self-proclaimed leader in the Resist Trump movement will appear on BET's Angela Rye's State of the Union Tuesday night. But Massachusetts Representative Joe Kennedy is delivering the official Democratic response. And far-left Democrat Representative Keith Ellison may be considering a run for Minnesota Attorney General. Politico reporting he's getting bored in the House. Ellison made headlines earlier this month when he endorsed an Antifa handbook that he says will strike fear in the heart of President Trump. Pete?
Thanks, Griff. Well, President Trump promoted his America First agenda in Davos Friday, but told world leaders that it didn't mean America alone.
I will always put America first, just like the leaders of other countries should put their country first also. But America first does not mean America alone.
So is the media missing the point when they call the president's agenda isolationist or protectionist? Our panel is here to weigh in. Former CIA analyst Buck Sexton, the host of Will Cow Majority and the new CR-TV show Will Cow, Andrew Wilkup, congratulations, and Democratic strategist and president of Solidarity Strategies, Chuck Rocha. Thank you very much for being here this morning. Appreciate it. So, Buck, the big takeaway, you know, the left can't seem to wrap their arms around this president, especially when he goes overseas. What is the takeaway message from his trip to Davos?
Well, Davos is the Oscars for globalists. This is the single biggest congregation you're going to find of the fanciest of the fancy foreign policy elites. And so the media had set this up like, well, this is where Trump will be completely out of his element. He's going to be a fish out of water. Turns out he's there with basically rock star status, gives an incredibly effective speech. Even a lot of his detractors here at home are saying, hold on a second, that actually sounded pretty good, made a lot of sense. He's like the salesman for American greatness on the world stage, and people are buying it. I think that really shocked a lot of those who were expecting something else out there.
Well, Andrew, a lot of people were expecting a walkout because of, you know, previous comments, or, you know, there'd be a huge distance. Instead, there was this rock star role, and even the New York Times had to acknowledge that it was successful. How does he make this kind of a turnabout?
Well, he made a really key point in his speech that we should put America first, and so should the other nations and their leaders. But he made a point that growth in the United States means a growth in innovation. It means a growth in jobs, and what's good for America is good for the world. And how would you argue against that?
Absolutely. Well, Chuck, how would you argue against that? A few praise for his approach.
Talking about America first and bringing jobs back, because there's so much, I find as a political consultant, anxiety out there. I think if somebody could take his Twitter account away from him, I'd be a lot more worried about 2018, because when he's on that stage and he's talking about putting America first and talking about manufacturing jobs, he's talking to a lot of middle-class Americans who are looking for answers.
Is that a message that Democrats are afraid of? Saying,
it was our message. It was literally our message when I joined the party. My factory in East Texas shut down and moved to China. My father worked there, 1,500 men, right? That's the reason I joined the party, and I want to see that party return to that message.
Well, to that point, he talked about trade. He didn't just talk about free trade. A lot of conservatives are like, well, is he a free trader or not? He talked about fair trade. That seems to make a lot of sense to folks in middle America to say, hey, let's make trade deals, but let's make sure they're advantageous to America as well, Buck.
Well, Pete, I think that there's a greater sense now than ever before that the plan of the Trump administration is just to show results, and instead of just debating the possible merits of plans that would involve trade deals.
White papers from think tanks?
Yeah, exactly. There's only so much you can hear from the folks down in D.C. and up and around K Street before you say, you know what, the economy's doing great. You have, what, over 2 million jobs just in the first year alone of the Trump administration. And on trade, there's a whole bunch of reasons, including getting some leverage in dealing with China, that we need to actually switch things up a bit. What's been in the past is not necessarily what needs to be in the future.
Andrew, you know, conservatives often laud the Reagan administration and its foreign policy. How would you compare what President Trump has done on the global stage to his?
Shocking. The Heritage Foundation rated Trump's first year more successful than Ronald Reagan's. And if you would have said that could happen at CPAC, there would be pearl-clutching and fainting, because you don't question the Reagan legacy. Donald Trump has basically told the world, especially with the Palestinians and foreign aid, if you don't sit down and talk peace, the money's coming to an end. We are putting America first. He's actually been saying to the world what conservatives have wanted out of a Republican president for a generation.
So, Chuck, how do Democrats attempt to recapture that narrative that you talked about, considering President Trump has been very effective about emphasizing America first and then emphasizing results as well?
You know, I had this problem under Barack Obama. We doubled the stock market, created 11 million new jobs, but the Democrats lost 61 seats in the House while we were doing that, right? Donald Trump is in a position he could do something different. Democrats need to take that message back and talk about trade, talk about it in our terms. Republicans were the majority.
How do you take it back, though, when it's working based on what he's doing?
Because Republicans in Congress, is a little-known fact, have been the majority of people for free trade for years. But we let them come out and have the talking points that we're scared to talk about because we're scared of our base or we're scared of other parts of our party. We need to man up and say, look, this is our message. We need to return jobs back here, and this is how we do it.
He just misgendered.
He what?
He just misgendered. He said man up. You
Fair
can't
enough,
say that as a Democrat
That's
anymore.
right. Be careful with your verbiage.
I'm from East Texas. Let me tell you. No, sorry. Go ahead. Right.
Chuck, Andrew, Buck, thanks a lot for your time. Appreciate it. All right. Well, that explosive memo on alleged FISA surveillance abuse could be made public any day now. Dan Bongino says it needs to happen now, and he joins us next. Plus, she called the president a white supremacist. Now, ESPN's host Jamil Hill, she's leaving SportsCenter, but her new gig could let her be even more political. We'll explain.
The Republicans, many of them, are all too desperate to distract attention from the Russia probe and try to put the government on trial. This has been a strategy for quite some time now. And even when they have no basis to do it, it doesn't stop them from making the most scandalous accusations against these professionals at the FBI.
So that is Ranking Member Adam Schiff of the Intelligence Committee on the House. The Democrats will be releasing their own memo, but we learn about what they think they know. But Republicans, of course, the release the memo movement around the FISA surveillance. It looks like this week it may actually be.
We don't know that. It may be mid to late week, according to sources in Washington, because I covered this all week long. But what we need to do is ask someone who has an opinion about it, and that is Dan Bongino, former NYPD officer, former Secret Service agent, and someone that needs no introduction here. Dan, what do you think about releasing that memo?
You know, that memo is going to frighten Americans. I was listening to that Schiff clip, by the way. This guy is the slimiest of the slimy in the swamp. I mean, how disgusting. Guys, let's be clear about what happened here, because I know this is a complicated case. The Obama administration used police state powers to spy on Donald Trump. That's not in dispute. What's in dispute is how it happened. And how it happened is what's going to be likely detailed in this memo and should scare everyone. And one other point on this. What scares me is the police state, having been a federal agent myself and knowing the power of the federal government. What scares me more is that the hacks in the liberal media and liberals up in Congress aren't scared of the police state like I am anymore. Very disturbing.
Right. It's weird. I mean, Adam Schiff is basically saying, I don't want to use my powers of oversight as a congressman, which they have the power. That's the power we give them as the people. They don't want to use it. And the media is gone with this storyline, hook, line, and sinker, saying basically, you know, if you question the tactics of the FBI or the DOJ in this investigation, somehow you're un-American.
Rachel, Schiff has lied about this memo multiple times now. He's deliberately manipulating the American public to get them to believe what happened didn't happen. Listen to me. Facts aren't partisan, okay? Either the Obama administration applied for warrants to spy on the Trump team, or they didn't. That doesn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat. He's already tried a few narrative shifts, by the way. Russian bots were promoting this on Twitter. That was determined to be false. Then he moved on to the narrative that this is going to be interference by Trump if he releases this. This is nonsense. Donald Trump has constitutional rights, too. You may not like his politics, but he's a citizen of the United States, and the government was unleashed on him during the Obama years. Make no mistake.
Dan, I got to change topics just a little bit with you because I've been covering all week long this story and also the immigration debate. Now the White House has a plan out there. It more than doubles what Democrats were asking for. Democrats are outright refusing it, going what I would say is probably overplaying their hand, just calling it a racist ransom note. What do you make of this plan put forth? It's a legislative framework. We're going to hear more about it on Monday, but what do you make of what you've seen so far?
Well, I'm not a supporter of DACA amnesty at all. I just want to be open and honest with our audience. But I think Trump baited the left in on this one. I think he put out a reasonable plan that was a first offer to see how the Democrats would respond. And of course, how did they respond? How they always respond, with hyperbole and hilarity. You have Nancy Pelosi out there saying, make the country white again. Do you understand, guys? The Democrats have nothing, okay? Their policies are so ridiculous they could never put them on a campaign sign. With taxes, give us your money. Healthcare, give us your healthcare. Education, give us your kids. And immigration, give us your votes. That's all they care about.
Let me push back on you a little bit, though, because why are conservatives, and you say you're against DACA, why are you against DACA? The polls have shown more than 70% of the country want to do something compassionate for these young dreamers. And this is the White House saying, okay, I hear you, America. We're going to give you what you want, but I want a wall. I want border security, and I want chain migration, which, by the way, brought over 7 million illegals into this country in the last decade. Why are you against DACA?
Because my wife came here legally, Griff, and it took a lot of money, and it took a lot of time, and it took a lot of work. And if you can explain to me a reasonable reason why she should have come here legally, if she could have gotten the exact same benefit from just walking across the border and announcing she's here, I'm all ears. But I haven't heard any reasonable explanation yet.
What do you think the next step on this debate, as a conservative, what are you looking for next in this?
In the immigration debate,
yeah.
You know, I'd like to see the Democrats come back to the table with some reasonable proposal. If the only thing we can get is the original Goodlatte bill with some trade-off for a limited number of DACA recipients in exchange for wiping out the visa lottery, chain migration, and a strong border wall, and I think a lot of Republicans, even conservatives, will be all ears. But the Democrats aren't being reasonable on this. They don't want to be. They'll never, ever give Trump a win because they don't care. They just want to. They are taking up a scorched earth policy.
We got to leave it there. Dan, weighing in. Thank you very much, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Dan. Always energized. Turning now to your headlines. A Democrat mayor in Florida removed from office after an FBI sting buster for corruption. Governor Rick Scott suspending Hallandale Beach Mayor Joy Cooper while she faces 3 felony charges. Cooper surrendering to authorities following an undercover investigation near Fort Lauderdale. She is charged with money laundering, official misconduct, and exceeding campaign contribution limits. She plans to plead not guilty. The deadly flu activity remains high, hitting baby boomers harder than usual this year. The CDC reporting one reason could depend on which flu strain they were exposed to as a child. The virus claiming another life. 47-year-old Alabama bride-to-be Catherine Acton being diagnosed, according to the Daily Mail. She leaves behind 2 kids. The CDC now reporting 37 pediatric deaths so far this season, warning it is not over yet. It's so scary. Controversial ESPN anchor Jemele Hill is leaving her position for a lower-profile writing job with the network's sports culture website. She reportedly is stepping down from her Sports Center job to write about race and culture for the undefeated, end quote. ESPN suspending Hill last year for violating social media policy, including a tweet calling President Trump a white supremacist. NFL punter surprising a group of 4th graders after they helped raise money for his charity.
Come down to Minneapolis and get to do the NFL experience with me.
Wow, those kids from Detroit Lake, Minnesota, raising more than $200 for the Saints punter Thomas Morstead's foundation after his show of sportsmanship against the Vikings in the playoffs, playing through a rib injury. Minnesotans as a whole raising more than $200,000 for the cause. I actually feel bad not letting Pete read that one.
It's okay. No,
it's a good Minnesota
cool
story.
We had the punter on this program. He's got a great charity. Minnesotans very charitable to him. When he showed great sportsmanship at the end of the game.
So what's the weather going to be in Minnesota?
I don't know, but Rick can
Let's ask
tell us.
Rick.
Well, it's a little far out to tell you.
But it's an indoor stadium, so who cares?
Yeah, yeah, but you got to get there. All the people who are going to be going out and whatever. But yeah, a little too early to say. But right now, I tell you what, we're looking really good. Temperature-wise, nothing near where we had been over the last couple of weeks as far as cold goes. It's still a little bit chillier, and it's warm here across parts of the southeast. This is where we have a lot of moisture going right now. You see all this moisture stretching from parts of the Great Lakes all the way down towards the south. The snow, though, way up and across parts of Canada, so you get the idea. It's a lot warmer. This snow moves towards the east tomorrow. A pretty, very heavy rain day across parts of Florida. Today, it's mostly across southeast Texas and southern Louisiana. We're going to see some spots here who pick up about 3 to 5 inches of rain. That's going to cause some localized flash flooding. And then the next story is big, and it'll continue to be there. Here's how this storm across parts of the east plays out the next couple of days. Behind it, cooler temperatures, but nothing that's horribly cold just yet. The cold does come back, though, this week. Some bouts of cold. In fact, there's some hints, guys, that cold that we had in January is coming back for parts of February. So we have time to watch it. Yes. I mean, it's January still. That's winter. We have a long ways to go.
Go to Florida if you want
All right. Global warming always gives us hope for warmth. We're spoiled.
Yes.
We'll leave it there. Debbie Wasserman Schultz joins the growing chorus of Democrats saying tax reform bonuses are no big deal.
I haven't heard of a corporation bonus more than $1,000 so far, which, by the way, is taxed. So it's not $1,000.
One small business owner giving his employees bonuses, saying it means more than Democrats could ever imagine. He's up next.
And is Facebook as addictive as cigarettes? One CEO thinks so, and now he wants tech to be regulated like tobacco. Would that actually work?
No.
Democrats are still downplaying the bonuses being handed out by a growing number of companies in the wake of President Trump's tax cuts. Here's Florida Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz with her latest insight.
I haven't heard of a corporation bonus more than $1,000 so far, which, by the way, is taxed. So it's not $1,000.
But in 2011, Wasserman Schultz was up in arms over the payroll tax cut, tweeting this. House GOP refused to extend payroll tax cut yesterday. Senate passed Bill 89. $40 per paycheck. Tweet what hashtag $40 means to you. Sheldon Wolf is the founder and CEO of SpellX, a software development company based in Tampa, Florida, and he joins us now with his reaction. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I get excited when I find $20 in my husband's jeans when I'm doing the laundry. So tell me what a $1,000 bonus that you're giving to your employees means to them.
Well, when I told them about it, they were very surprised. Some of them were shocked. Some of them had a few tears in their eyes, or their eyes welled up with tears. Everybody was really excited Everybody was happy, whether their political tilt was towards the right or the left, didn't matter. That was $1,000 in their pocket, and they were delighted.
So how many bonuses did you give, and what was the amount?
Well, the amount was $1,000. The bonuses only went to full-time employees, and there was 26 of them.
So you put on the checks that you gave, I understand, that you actually said that it was for the Trump Tax Cut and Jobs Act. Why did you decide to do that when you gave the checks out?
Well, I give my employees lots of different bonuses. They get not monthly, they get quarterly bonuses, annual bonuses, Christmas bonuses, karma bonuses, special bonuses. So I like to describe what the bonuses are all about. However, I don't usually put them right on the face of the check. So doing that was to emphasize that the reason they got $1,000 was because of the new tax plan that was passed by President Trump and Congress.
So what do you make of the Democrats calling that check crumbs?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a joke. And when you think about Nancy Pelosi, who I guess started it, a person who's worth, what, $40 million, $80 million, coming from a state where 1 in 5 people are in poverty, and then saying this $1,000 that 3 million employees are getting is crumbs. I mean, it just doesn't pass the smell test.
Yeah, I understand a lot of your employees are millennials or young people who aren't so into politics. Right. I think it's interesting that you put that on the check. Maybe they'll have their own opinion about Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Pelosi calling it crumbs. Thanks so much for joining us. It's very insightful, and we hope other small business owners take a cue from you. So thank you.
Okay, thank you for having me.
You got it. Democrats blasting the president over his immigration plan. So do they actually want to make a deal, or are they more interested in dividing America? We're going to ask Corey Lewandowski ahead. And is Facebook as addictive as cigarettes? One CEO thinks so, and he wants tech to be regulated, just like tobacco. Is more regulation the answer? We've got Kurt the Cyber Guy coming in to break it down for us next. So what do Facebook and cigarettes have in common? Well, one CEO says tech today is so addictive, it should be regulated like tobacco.
Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff calling for government regulation of tech giants while overseas in Davos, Switzerland.
But is this regulation a good idea, and would it actually work? Kurt, the cyber guy, breaks it down, is here with us now to break it all down. So, Kurt, count me as skeptical anytime someone starts talking about regulating,
I would have
especially on the internet.
Never in a million years would I have raised my hand or even thought about it, about the government reaching their hand in again in our lives for regulation, especially when it comes to the internet, technology, social media. And I was really surprised at the World Economic Forum to see this actually come out in front and center, whether it's Salesforce CEO. So he's saying, look, all of the social media that's going on right now, we can tell, has some detrimental effect.
Well, it's designed that way. I mean, the former employee is saying it was created as a tool and he actually says it's ripping apart our social fabric.
That's one of the former employees who by the way, we're just now starting to hear from these dissenters who used to be employed by a lot of the social media companies, especially Facebook. Even Sean Parker, their former president, has come out and said, look, in the beginning, in the roots of Facebook, it was designed, we didn't care about, it wasn't a priority that human or humanity would be a focus here. Our priority is getting as many people clicking as much as we possibly can without much regard to what that meant.
And
overall.
Starting as young as possible. I mean, all of us know if you take your teen's phone away, you know they're addicted.
Or yours.
We have a poll here. Hold on, let me put this poll up, right? Americans divided on this. 49% there should be regulations for online news content. 47% websites should provide news however they choose. So kind of split down the middle.
This is a Knights and Harris poll that was done. And I find it really interesting that we're even polling this because, and then when I saw the results, I went, wait a minute. There is not a chance in God's green earth I would have raised my hand to the idea of regulating Facebook.
Are you?
But why are you raising it now?
Think, like, you know what? You can't argue with how Facebook and social media and technology has some really incredible ways of bringing us together. And it's also got the dark side, the detrimental side of tearing us apart or creating an environment where if you have baited America and you've baited the world to say check it as much as possible and get yourself, without this you'll have no self-esteem, there's a giant part of the population that buys right into it hook, line, and sinker. And that's not good.
But isn't